is Heat Map Fantasy Sports. Is that what we are now? We're Heat Map Fantasy Sports. We changed our name. Heat Map Fantasy Sports, formerly. That's who we are now. Formerly Bankster DFS. We focus on DFS, sports betting, best ball. The best ball season's over. I'm a little sad about that. How many drafts did you do this year, Gutta? I'm Doug Shane, by the way, and that's Michael Gudadero. How many best ball drafts you do this year, Gutta?
It's a great question. I haven't. He's easily over 100.
Yeah, I did 109 on Underdog and then 2 on DraftKings. I don't like the DraftKings setup. Funny thing though, I don't have a single guy with over 20% exposure. Maximum is 19% on anyone, which I don't know if that's a good strategy. I don't know if that's a plus EV strategy.
I mean, I don't know where on DraftKings because they're not up to speed with doing exposures and stuff. But I have quite a few guys on Underdog over 20%. But most of the guys are later rounds, so like 13, 14 and later. So things like that I'm okay with. Let's see where. Oh, they don't have. They don't show anything right now.
The DraftKings layout is awful. That's what I'm doing. It's just awful.
Oh yeah. It's a little bit tougher, but I'm a little limited here in Connecticut. We don't have Underdog. We're strictly DraftKings and FanDuel, unfortunately. So all my stuff is all my Underdog is when I'm out of state.
That's right. We did when I was in Connecticut. We went on vacation in Connecticut, and they have DraftKings has the legal sports book there. Not sports book here; it has sports book, but they have the legal the actual casino gambling. My brother and I were there. My brother Heath and I were there, and we did. We gambled a lot. He apparently gambled so much on the online casino that he has a DraftKings casino host now. I've been playing DFS for over 10 years, but he has a casino host now. So he had a real good time when we were in Connecticut. Yeah, he had a real good time. I was texting you about that when we were there. I was like, they won't let me play unless I'm in the sports book.
There's weird things with the casinos about using the DFS, especially if it's the competitor. It's odd. I still don't get it. I still don't get it why they, only allow you DraftKings and FanDuel for DFS, but that's a tilt for another day.
So that's another complaint for another day. So we're here today. We're really just doing a test stream to make sure all of our equipment works for our Sunday live stream. What time are we going live, Gutta? Did we go live at like 11:15 last year, right before injuries? Then we went to like 12:30. Is that what we did?
Yeah. Give some time for last minute Slack chat, any last minute updates and all that, and also too a little extra time for us to build lineups or tweaks or add extra because when in doubt, just add another.
No late pivots. Like pivots are bad because that's when Doug pulls the guy from the lineup who ends up getting 3 touchdowns. So so we'll be alive 11:15 right here Saturday morning till 12:30-ish. Yeah, I don't have anywhere to run this year. I'll be watching football at home this year, so I don't have to run out to my brother's house. So that'll be I just prefer sitting on the couch. So we'll take it right up to 12:30, but I think that's what we'll cut it off so we can mass enter lineups and go into Slack and help everyone out. I'm sure Sean and John and Troy and Brandon and the rest of the gang will be hanging out, and Steven, all be hanging out in Slack chat while we're live. But today's really, really laid back because we're just doing the test stream here to make sure everything goes well on Sunday. Do you see the scroll on the bottom? That's a cool new feature that we have here.
Yeah,
we have the scroll. That's going to be where our injury report goes. Once the injury report comes out at 11:30, you'll see me frantically typing in all the injuries, and because we don't have a producer, we're not stochastic. You know what I mean? We're not roto grinders. We got to produce our own stuff. So I sit here and produce, and I'll be doing that while Gutta's talking how the injuries impact us. So that'll be kind of fun. But let's talk about today's game. Where are you feeling this game today, Gutta? What do you? I don't know who's going to win this game, but I think I have an idea of where I want to go for DFS. But I want to hear your opinion first. Where are we going with this game?
Yeah, so I think what you're going to want to target is. So I think the big boys on LA are a little worrisome, just because of the matchup, right? There's, you probably get a little Super Bowl hangover, the celebration, the rings, all that crap that they do on opening night. You'll get, everybody and their mother is going to be on Cooper Kupp because of what he did last year, and obviously he's going to have major reduction on production. How bad? Is he going to be down 10% in production, 20, 30%? I mean, I think I heard somewhere even if you take away like 25% of his stats from last year, I think he was still like wide receiver 3 or something, wide receiver 2, like something absurd, just like literally an all-time season. Yeah. Obviously Buffalo has a good secondary. I don't think White's playing tonight, but still very
first
good
4 weeks he's out.
Yeah, so they're going to be a little limited in the secondary, but I think if you're playing this, I think on the Rams side, Higbee and Henderson are probably the better areas to go. I like everything about Higbee tonight. And then I think you play it from there. Gabe Davis is probably the better receiver play on the Buffalo side, just because Diggs will probably end up seeing Jalen Ramsey a lot more. And then it's just getting creative and all that. But I do think Buffalo is going to come out very much with a chip on their shoulder, because I would argue this probably should have been the Super Bowl matchup last year. Because Buffalo, they should have beaten Kansas City. I mean, that play calling at the end of regulation was horrific, and then they never got the ball back in overtime,
Ridiculous.
which was unfortunate because Josh Allen was just on another level in that game.
I agree with you completely. I think, first of all, I think passing is the way that we need to go in this game. I sent out a message. A member had asked in our Slack chat today where kind of where we want to go with this game, and I really think the passing game is where it's at. And I agree with you completely. I don't say I'm off Cooper Kupp, but I think he's going to carry some ownership, and I do think that there's a good opportunity for Allen Robinson to do some stuff in this game. I mean, he's clearly playing with the best quarterback of his career. I do think that at his price point, he makes for a really nice captain option. Make sure, by the way, if you're using your wide receiver in your captain spot, which you should be doing, wide receivers and running backs for the most part, maybe tight ends. If you're using a wide receiver or Higbee in your captain position, that you do have their quarterback in your lineup 100% of the time, because the correlation is too strong in a single game format. I've got him ranked for today. I've got Robinson kind of right near the top. I like Gabe Davis, but I really like Isaiah McKenzie. He's going to be the starting slot receiver. He won the job for. He should be getting the start. We've seen him have big games when he does get the targets, and he gets week 16 against New England, he had the 12 targets and 32 points. Now that I'm not going to have that kind of a game, but he's only $2,400, $3,600 as your captain. I've got a ton of Isaiah McKenzie. I have no Steph Diggs. I think Steph Diggs is the guy that I'm going to be fading most likely. I was watching some, I watch a lot of the other content providers. I think it was Stochastic I was watching. Really big on Diggs. I think that's going to drive a lot of ownership towards Diggs because these bigger sites, they do tend to drive ownership, whether it's purposeful or not. People are going to go there. And I think with the Jalen Ramsey issue, I'm not going to be in love with Diggs today. I'll have some exposure, but rarely will I put him at my captain position. And I'm running basically Robinson, Davis, McKenzie, Kupp, and then I'm also going to be running a lot of Higbee. I think Higbee is just a guy that's going to he's going to outperform his price. I actually, when you talk about sports betting, because we do cover sports betting, I actually have Higbee in there at they have the risk-free bet over on Phil, and they have plus money right now. I think it got a plus 126 on over 4.5 catches. With the volume he saw towards the end of the year, he had a ton of targets. I mean, if you take a look at statistics here, he had 5, 8, 10, 5, 5, 6, 6, 9, 8, 7. I mean, and Buffalo not great against the tight end. Again, the secondary is hurting. I think Higbee is well worth the play. I would actually consider him for a cat if you're looking to spend down. And then the one guy that I have a lot of interest in, which might be foolish, but he played so well in the preseason, and I played so much preseason DFS. I was on Lance McCutcheon pretty much, and he had an absolutely monster preseason. Pretty much every week he was blowing up the slates. He's better than Ben Skoranek. Skoranek might be a better pass blocker, a run blocker. He might be a little more reliable, but McCutcheon's a big downfield player. If he is active, I do chance he could play in 3 and 4 receiver sets over Skoranek and possibly even over Tutu Atwell, especially if Atwell's going to be returning punts. I do think there's an opportunity for McCutcheon to come in there and get some slot work. And if that's the case with the way Buffalo, their secondary is a little beat up right now, I'd be surprised. There's like a 3% chance, but he could take one to the house. He's the kind of guy who's going to get downfield shots, especially. And I don't think Van Jefferson is supposed to play in this game. He's not on.
No, he's inactive.
He is inactive. Did he come out?
Yeah. I don't know if they did or not,
Van Jefferson's out. It says right
he's
there.
not supposed to play. Yeah, okay.
Okay, right. Yeah, it shows right there. He's out. So Jefferson's not going to play. So I think it's possible McCutcheon gets that role. I'm not saying put McCutcheon in 40% of your lineups. I am saying that a strategy that Al Zeidenfeld talks about over on his channel is running 4 real popular plays and then using or 5 really popular plays when you play or is that 6 play? Sorry, as a real less, you get a handful, 5 or 6 guys that you think might be low owned that have a shot to do something. Darrell Henderson, a Jamison Crowder, maybe a Matt Gay, players of that ilk, but then maybe even a Lance McCutcheon, and you kind of sprinkle them into your lineups because that's how you're going to be a little bit different, right? That's where the difference is. There's nothing wrong with having a 70% guy in Showdown, but if you can pull the 3% or 2% guy or even a 10% guy that has a good game, you're going to give yourself a big opportunity to jump the field. And one of the guys that's in my rotation of flyers, until I hear that he's definitely not playing, is going to be Lance McCutcheon. I do think people might go to Tutu Atwell as a cheaper option or Skoranek, and I think McCutcheon is a more talented player than those guys, so he's someone I'm
he's definitely got upside and skills. He's a little bit of a project right now and very raw, but it's worthwhile, and especially too, I think just for. And the important thing here to know is that it's a little more geared towards larger field tournaments. If you're playing in some of the smaller field tournaments or even, play some cash entries, McCutcheon's not a guy that you want to go near because he could be active and get 5 snaps. And
he could get 0 snaps. Like he could be active and see no snaps. That's completely possible. But if he can come in there and get,
of course.
He's a large field guy that if you're playing 150 lineups, you throw him into 5, you throw him into 8, 10. I mean, whatever it is, and you mix and match them. I think you need to do that also with Skoranek. You need to do that with Hopkins, the tight end. You need to do that with James Cook. You might even need to do it if he's active with Khalil Shakir if he's active. Those are the guys you can throw in there. But I'm of all those guys, my favorite for at least a shot is Lance McCutcheon. I think maybe I played too much preseason. It might just be that I played so much preseason. My head is in preseason mode. Like I didn't grab him on any best ball teams or anything, but this is my chance to keep playing McCutcheon. I did really well in preseason this year. I hit so many tickets, and a guy like McCutcheon, someone that just kind of he sits with you and he warms your heart. So I would love to see him. Are you feeling the running backs at all outside of Darrell Henderson? Are you feeling the running back at all in this game?
No, it's a little. I mean, Akers, I'm really, really worried about. Just because he just looked so rough in that playoff run. I mean, I definitely think he came back too soon. They probably didn't need to do that. I mean, if I'm picking a running back on LA, it's definitely Henderson. But even that, Buffalo's defense is really tough against the run, so it's a hard justification there. I mean, your hope is, Henderson gets a couple of catches and makes some plays off of it. Because, the Rams, I mean, all of a sudden, even, without having Beckham in tow and then Van Jefferson out, their, offense is pretty limited right now. I mean, there's no real depth there. You say Kupp, Robinson, Higbee can be very reliable, as we, saw at the end of 2019. After that, it's really all question marks. What's the running game going to look like? Are Akers and Henderson splitting 50-50 because Akers is not really there yet? So it's and even on the Buffalo side, I mean, Singletary is probably getting 65 to 70% of the touches tonight just because it's week 1 and I'm not buying anything of Zach Moss from the preseason. And I really do like James Cook.
Yeah, but he played just enough to make you have to think. But you have to think twice now.
Yes.
Not that you want to play Moss, but you got to think that that's where the Buffalo running back's even worse than the Rams.
Correct. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's real, but you do have to give some worry to it just because of how things ended up going in the preseason. And then I really like James Cook's long-term outlook, but I don't think he's a viable piece tonight because him too. He's a good receiving back. He's still very raw there, and he's got pass blocking is always an issue with some rookies. So I just don't think they're going to give too much to Cook tonight unless he just comes out and just absolutely amazes them. And yeah, they give him more work as the game progresses potentially. But I think on the Buffalo side, it's Singletary. But again, it's a tough matchup on that run side. But if you're going with the Buffalo running back, if you want to look a little contrarian, Singletary is the answer. I wouldn't probably even look at the other two.
How do you feel about Kyren Williams for the to make things even worse for the Rams running backs? McVay says he's a part of the team and he's a part of the offensive game plan. I mean, is it possible that he's going to come in and spell both of Henderson and Cam Akers, or do you think that's just coach speak and Williams is not someone we should be even in large field GPPs considering?
I think it's a little more coach speak. I mean, if you're doing large field GPPs, you're doing the million maker type stuff. Yeah, maybe you're doing a ton of lineups, 1 or 2 shares of Kyren Williams that it plays out in the right scenario. But I only think Williams gets any meaningful snaps because listen, he'll probably be on the field 5 to 10 snaps, but unless he takes an 80-yard, has an 80-yard touchdown, he's not going to really make anything out of those. So I think you would have to kind of set your lineup with almost the narrative that, Akers is just not right and, something's bothering him or he's just so ineffective that they give Williams a little more run. But also, too, listen, if Akers is that ineffective, what's stopping them from giving Henderson 65 to 70% of the snaps then,
He's proven he can do it.
Let's not forget Henderson before he got hurt last year, and then Sony Michel kind of took the reins. Henderson was like top 5 in points per game at the running back position last year. He was doing really, really well, and then Michel kind of took over. Then Akers got lumped in late in the year. It just became messy, but Henderson was really, really good last year. So if Akers is struggling or just not right, I mean, Henderson probably takes the bulk of the work there, and Kyren Williams again is just in a couple of plays to spell him and not much else, I don't think.
And he had 4 more targets 7 times, including the playoffs. So we know he can catch the ball. So if I'm hearing, and I think we're on the same page in terms of how we would rank the running backs, we're looking Henderson 1, Singletary 2, and then probably Akers 3, Cook 4, Kyren Williams 5, with very Moss ahead of Kyren Williams, but we're not really looking at Kyren Williams, Zach Moss, probably not James Cook. I'm talking if you're making 150 lineups, if you're playing running backs, right? Because you want to sprinkle some running back exposure if you're playing that many lineups. Heavier Henderson, a little less Singletary, and then maybe a bigger drop off to Akers, and then just the smallest amount of the other guys, maybe.
Correct. Yep.
Any interest at all in the defenses or kickers?
I mean, maybe a little bit, defenses are always interesting because if you use the defenses, you kind of have to, you build your lineups, you play out the scenario that, it's week 1, the Rams are hungover from the Super Bowl. The Bills are a little rusty because they came out with a chip on their shoulder, but they're pressing a little bit, and if, you play it out, the game ends 10-9, 10-6, 10-7 type of thing. Yeah, the defenses become a little more viable. But even if, let's say the game ends 10-7, you still need some sacks. You probably, you need some turnovers. You need something there for the defenses really to pop because you could have a low-scoring game. The defenses, don't really give you that much return where you would have still been better off not using them.
I hear you.
And
Josh Allen's not particularly turnover prone, and Matt Stafford, since he's come over to the Rams, is not getting sacked or turned over all that much. I agree that even if the game's low scoring, which it shouldn't be, I'm not very interested in either of those guys.
Yep. And I want to.
As for the kickers, I prefer Matt Gay over Tyler Bass. They both have big legs. They're both accurate. I think Gay's a little bit better of a kicker. I also think if either team is going to struggle to score touchdowns while still moving the ball, it's probably the Rams. I also think that, wild as it is to say, I think McVay is a little more conservative than McDermott, especially as a home team. I think they're going to be more willing to take the field goal, whereas I think Buffalo's more likely to go for it. So I've got Matt Gay in a couple of lineups. I don't have any I don't have any exposure to Bass or either of the defenses. I'm also not playing 150 lineups, but obviously 150 lineups, it kind of goes out the window.
You start 6 or 7%,
8%, whatever it is. But I think if you're playing 5, 8, 10 lineups, I'm not looking at either defense. I'm really not using Bass, and I'm using limited exposure to Matt Gay.
Yeah, and also too, one thing that I wanted to bring up, but I was just looking it up and verifying it. Let's not forget, Matt Stafford was tied for the league lead in interceptions last year.
That's true.
So he's got the propensity that he's not afraid to throw it and chuck it around. Looking at his career, he's thrown 15 or more interceptions, or 5 times, including leading the league in interceptions last year. So if they are passing a bit more, Stafford could throw an interception or two, and if he does, it gives the Bills defense the opportunity to run one back, especially depending on the situation within the game as well.
The one name we didn't really mention is Dawson Knox. Is it because we are both of the same mind that his touchdown production is not statistically sustainable compared to the amount of targets and volume he gets in the passing game? And last year was a Robert Tonyan level of an anomaly, as opposed to this is a guy who can really contribute, or did we just forget to talk about him?
Combination of everything, maybe. I mean, I do. I do think I will disagree with you about the touchdown part. I mean, there are guys that just they just get in the end zone all the time. I think Knox is one of those guys that can consistently be in that 8 to 10 touchdown range every year, just because of the way that the Bills are going to use him. Sure. They have Allen loves Gabe Davis inside the 20, and he has shown the propensity to score a ton of touchdowns. But I think Knox is that kind of guy also. Like, Knox is a real touchdown boom or bust guy, because he's not going to go out and give you 8 for 80 that he can salvage your day if he doesn't score a touchdown or two. Yeah, he may go 3 for 40, but that's not giving you anything if he's not scoring a touchdown. So I think there's way more risk there, and you're probably going to see way more of Diggs and Davis than Knox in this one.
He is Josh Allen's best friend on the team, so there is something to that. We saw what happened with Cooper Kupp when him and Matt Stafford became. But let me do a little either or then, as it pertains to Dawson Knox. Just a quick, I'll give you 2 guys. I'll give you a guy with Knox. You tell me who you'd rather have at their prices today: Cam Akers or Dawson Knox?
Dawson Knox.
I'm going to go ahead and assume Gabe Davis over Dawson Knox. Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing with Allen Robinson, who's cheaper than Dawson Knox.
Slightly, yeah.
Only slightly. I'm really high on Allen Robinson today. I think you and I differ on Allen Robinson, I think, today. I'm really high on him. He's the first captain I put in my lineup.
You know what it is, too? I think I had so much exposure to Robinson last year in best ball and even season long that it just not that it should, but it just leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. But once I see him make that first nice catch with a real quarterback throwing him the ball, I'll completely forget about it.
Well, it's funny. I was listening to the radio last year after the first couple of weeks when Robinson was just doing nothing, and Jeff Manns was on the radio, and he was just getting on people for giving up on Allen Robinson. He's like, what do you think? He's going to go for like 50 catches and 600 yards the whole season? Kind of.
And he did, yeah. That bears off.
Devin Singletary or Dawson Knox?
Ooh.
I know, right?
Probably Singletary.
All right. And then last one I'll give you is Jamison Crowder or Dawson Knox.
Oh, Knox, easily.
Got to be Knox there, right? I mean, the touchdown upside's too strong, and Crowder's blocked at this point. Anything else we want to add for this game before we move on to just a quick preview for what we're going to talk about on Sunday?
No, I think that kind of covers it on this one.
Cool. Yeah, I have nothing else to add. I think we went pretty well through that. Now moving on to Sunday. One of the things that I'm changing this year, I don't know if you've had time to my article, or at least the intro to my article. I'm changing my philosophy on how I'm building lineups this year and kind of where I'm going. I'm no longer looking at straight cash lineups. I do think it's viable, but there's an opportunity to play cash. But I think cash, we found out last year, and there was 1 week, I don't remember what it was, we nailed the highest roster player in every single position except for one. We had like the 5th highest roster guy and then like the 4th highest guy had a little bit better, and we missed out on cash even though we had a really high score. That, which is not to say you just take the highest roster guys and those are the people you go with. But I think what it shows is the edge there in cash is in order to really get around cash. And I think a lot of that has to do with optimizers. It has to do with the fact that a lot of people are entering similar players because they're going to these bigger sites. And again, it's not a knock on the bigger sites. They're really good. Obviously, I quote them. I look at them. I learn from them as well. But a lot of people will go in, take the optimal lineup, throw that in their cash lineup, and there's really high roster percentages. So you have to go with some contrarian plays. Well, if we're doing that, we're starting to do a GPP build. And I'm not sure in cash games chasing that 2v2. If you've got 7 of the same players and you're down to your 2 versus their 2, if that's going to be the most optimal way to go. But I do think there's an opportunity in single entry 100-man games, like the $5 hundo, the $10 hundo, where it's not a cash because you're looking at 20 to 25% of the field gets paid there. And, top prize is only like $70 for your $5. So it's only 14x, but you're only going against 100 people and it's a single entry. I think you can be a little more conservative. So I've changed my philosophy since everyone is adding a plus to their name, like Apple Plus and Genie Plus and Disney Plus. We're going with Cash Plus. That's our new lineup, my new lineup philosophy for those types of games. And that's how I'm going to run cash games this year is I'm going to run Cash Plus. And what I'm doing with Cash Plus is I'm going to run a lineup of, I'm not going to worry so much about ownership percentage, but I am going to worry a little bit about correlation. So for this week, for example, we'll talk about this more heavily on Sunday, particularly when I start to talk about, when we talk about our builds. Jalen Hurts, I think, is the hands down cash quarterback we should be playing this week. I mean, he's the cheat code quarterback. He's only $6,800. He's got a good matchup. But normally where I would not look to find correlation, I'm going to find a guy that I think is worth correlating. And I think the tight end position this week's a little bit weak. So I'm going to correlate him with Dallas Goedert. I think, if he has a good connection with Goddard. Goddard's only $4,500. So I am lining those guys up. I also think that Dameon Pierce is a guy that at $4,800 is a really solid play. So I'm going to put him in my lineup at $4,800, even though I'm not sure what his role is going to be. I think he's going to be pretty highly owned. And I'm going to offset that a little bit with the correlation of the other side of Michael Pittman, who I think is really underpriced. I haven't been high on Pittman. I've actually been fading Pittman a lot in best ball. I think his price is too high in best ball. But I think at $5,500 as a wide receiver one in a Matt Ryan-led offense, he's a really good value. So I'm correlating there. I'm going to do the same thing. I think Aaron Jones, who I never play in cash, at only $6,700 as most likely the wide receiver one in that offense, right? Because his reception numbers when Devontae Adams isn't in the game or isn't playing and A.J. Dillon is playing, his reception numbers are off the charts, and he averages like 20-something points a game.
Yeah. And also, too, Alan Lazard's on the wrong side of questionable, so that just kind of boosts it,
exactly.
Too.
So I think Aaron Jones falls into cash category. So how are we going to correlate that? Well, we're going to grab a receiver over on Minnesota. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with Jefferson. I may go to Thielen. I heard some stats today. Jefferson does not play well, particularly against Green Bay, and Adam Thielen does. So I may switch that over and then upgrade elsewhere in this lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think Thielen's only like 5,100. He's like terribly mispriced.
54, something like that. Yeah, he's really low priced. I love him in tournaments this week. I love that game in general in tournaments. And then I went with, I listened to you a little bit, Gutta, to show the influence you have on me. I'm actually rolling Derrick Henry because I do want to have a lot of late players in my lineup because the highest projected totals are in the afternoon slate, and you want PMR at the end of it. You want player minutes remaining. If you don't have anything going to those afternoon games, you're kind of fucked, right? So I don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to go with Derrick Henry, who I actually think is going to be really low owned. I mean, who's going to use Henry when you could use McCaffrey and Taylor at similar or a little bit higher prices, and so many lower price guys like Barkley and Kamara and Najee. And I'm going to correlate him with a very cheap Wan'Dale Robinson, who is going to start for the Giants as their slot receiver. So now I've got some safe plays, but they're correlated safe plays. So if the games go off, I still only have to get a couple of things right. I'm going to move up the field in my smaller field GPPs, my 100-man games. That to me is cash plus, a relatively safe lineup where my safer plays, my core plays are correlated. Ooh, I used core twice. That's nice. My core plays are correlated in order to take advantage of the opportunity to move up in the lineup. That's where my head is at this year for cash plus. That's what we're going to talk about on Sunday some more. What are your thoughts on cash plus?
Interesting. It makes complete sense. I definitely get what you're throwing down. I'm going to guess one that this has developed probably from playing MLB with those hundo contests in a way.
A little bit.
Okay.
It came from the fact that I needed to find a way to play safe players, right? Because you do want the safe, easily beatable fields, with the opportunity to still correlate and still have an edge. Also, with the fact that DraftKings, particularly, you're not going to find sharks playing these smaller 100-man $5 tournaments. They're not. Guys who play 20 grand a week are not playing $5 to win 70. They're just not. So you're playing against weaker competition. We are better than weaker competition. Like, we just are, because we play. We are better than the casual player. That's why people subscribe to our site. And that's not even like the pat on the back thing. We just put the time in that other people can't put in. So we're clearly going to be better than the average player. So I think we are at an advantage in those. So I do think it comes from the fact that I'm frustrated from coming up with really strong lineups that don't cash and cash, but I still want that safe money. So I do think it has more to do with that than anything that happened in MLB, which was an unmitigated disaster this year. Really good player pools, really good heat maps, but I couldn't put a lineup together to save my life in baseball. I lost half my freaking bankroll. My bankroll, you see, is at 1,700. By the way, if you watched last year, it was at 100 to start the year. But it got up to 3,300 at the end of football season, and it's 1,700 now. Now that's a combination of bad sports bets and just DFS, NBA, and MLB just crushing me this year.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. So, but yes, no, I like that cash plus idea. I have not gotten to your cash article yet because I've been busy with my own research and the GPP and everything.
I saw that came out today.
Yeah. So, tomorrow I'll watch the game tonight, and tomorrow will be, just all research day and just, getting more thoughts together.
I can't wait to read your article. I saw that it came out while I was at work, and now that I'm back in the classroom, I can't just sit and read the articles in the middle of the afternoon like I used to, and then I had to come home and, get ready for this. So I love reading those articles. Brian Crozier's article is coming out too. I've had that sit in my inbox for a few days. His contrarian article, which
nice,
excellent. We've got 3 good articles this week ready to roll.
Yeah, it was nice. It was fun getting back in it. It's been 8 months since doing it, and I get my format in. I start going through the teams, and it's like riding a bike. All the the muscle memory kicks in, all the the research areas and the numbers I look at, and it just flows.
It was nice to talk about something other than baseball. Like, I've been, Gutta's been busy being that his job has had him real busy, and my job up until the teaching, I have not been overly busy. So I've been doing most of the baseballs for anyone who's listening. I've been doing most of the baseball this year, and while I enjoy doing it, it's just the same bullshit over and over again. And it's like it's a grind.
It's tough.
This is the longest I've ever gone into a baseball season without wanting to blow my brains out, though. But it's like. It's tough.
Very much a grind, yeah.
And I've been best ball drafting so much, like we talked about at the top of the show. I've been best ball drafting and watching so much best ball content. It's like I'm ready. I couldn't even have told you until 2 days ago who was playing who in week 1. Like, I had, because I was so caught up in preseason. I did all the preseason player pools, and so I was just researching like a madman. I felt like Troy and Brandon. They put so much time into the college. Like, you have to dig. Well, same thing with preseason. I just I had a job that allowed me to have the time, but it's like, this just feels comfortable. Like, between this and NHL, which gets old, NFL just feels like I know exactly what I'm doing here. Let's get back to doing this. And of course, then I have this cash plus idea, and I'm like, oh crap, I got to think about that shit. But we're gonna build that.
I mean, listen, it's a really good idea, and it's good for those that get a little frustrated with the tournaments, because even sometimes with the tournaments, if you're in the $3 to $5 range, the smallest you're finding is like 2,000 to 3,000 people, which is still a pretty big contest.
Really
you're not finding some of those smaller ones until you get like in the $12 range. Like there's the mini Hail Mary at the $12, and that you're getting like 400 people. That's a small field, but you don't get those sizes until you start putting in bigger money. Yeah, if you're paying $100, you can find a 200-person tournament, but how many people are putting $100 for an entry? It's hard. So those hundos play out really nice and definitely get overlooked. I overlook them all the time.
I did too, and that's why I'm like, how can I take advantage of that? And I really like the smaller field, single entry. I'm like, oh, the hundos are perfect. I just think the core of what we do is still catering towards the smaller volume player. Though we still have a lot of big players as well, but we're all fairly small volume players, and I think there's a market for that. And I do think that people want to hear what can small volume players do. And I think a thing like the hundo is great. Like I don't put more than $100 into NFL any week, unless maybe week one I'll put a little more, but a lot of those are tickets, and if I'm playing heavy cash. And listen, when you read the article, you'll see, and anyone who's watching this after the fact and checks the article out, I do discuss regular cash. I've already changed my lineup, of course, since the article, but I put an example of what a cash plus lineup can look like. And then because I switched off from Kadarius Toney down to Wandale, and that changed some other things in my lineup. It's like, but so you go from. I do have an example of what a cash plus lineup can look like for those hundos, but then I also say, okay, if you want a traditional cash, it looks like this, and they're pretty different because in my traditional cash lineup, I've got McCaffrey and Taylor. Now I'm not playing traditional cash, but if I were to, I would just roll the two big wide receivers, go, low price, or two big price running backs, low price wide receivers, Dameon Pierce, because that's what the rest of the field is going to do. But again, I've got to differentiate one or two spots, which I'll probably do at my tight end or whatever it is. But then it's like, I'm hoping my two are better than their two. I'd rather take a lineup like this where I hope my correlated stacks work better than whatever else they're running out into those tournaments. Maybe they overstack a game. Or they stack the wrong players in a game, and maybe they're stacking Philly and they're running with Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, but I've got Hurts and Goddard, so I got the right game, I got the right pass catcher in that case. So I think you have a lot more outs by running a cash plus, even though half of what would cash in a cash game cashes. The cash line's only 25% instead of 50 or whatever it is, 20%. But it's like I feel thanks. We're looking good. Like, look at that. Sean's here. Sean, by the way, is going to be. He's getting ready for hockey season. He's already sent me the template for his hockey strategy article. So that's coming. So I get a little break for about a week and then hockey. But I think the cash plus gives you more outs, even though less of the field cashes. I think it provides you an opportunity to try something. But who the hell knows? I'm willing to try new things all the time and see what happens. It's working. I mean, we've been positive every year when we've got a chance, and building those bankrolls and talk about something, right? Something new, not something anyone else is talking about, I don't think, out there. So it's something that'll be fun for us to talk about. All right, Gutta, before we head out, I got to eat some dinner before I sort all these cards for the other job. What's your favorite bet for tonight's game? What do you got going on? What do you bet?
Tyler Higbee over receptions and receiving yards.
I gotta pull this off. It is. I pull the bets down. My top bet of the day was over on FanDuel. I took their risk-free bet plus 126 on Tyler Higbee at over 4.5. And which side did you take on the team that that goes up by 7? I assume you took a side in that. I mean, that's free money if it.
Buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah, I moneyline Buffalo. I think.
Yeah.
I do think, I don't know if someone said it in chat or if my friend said it to me, but I do think at some point we could see both teams up by 7. But I do think if
I mentioned that in our new executive lounge.
There you go. Okay, so I do think both teams could go up by 7. I think you overthink. People, myself included, overthink. Oh, well, who's going to get the 7-0 lead, right? Like that's the way to think of it. But like, I think Buffalo's the team that's more explosive, so I think they're more likely to go up. I think at the end of the day, Bills win the game. And we'll talk this weekend too, because they have that up by 10 for every game on the slate. So maybe as we're going through the game, we can, you get the automatic win. Take advantage of those promos, right? There's the risk-free SGP today is out there too, right? I think they give you. It was cool because it was the stepped-up parlay with risk-free, so it's like a $10 risk-free. So
Correct.
I threw my 10
and I think they're
a lot of Higby in my SGP.
Yeah, I think they say they're giving one for every day of the football game. So one today, one Sunday, one Monday.
All three primetime games. All three primetime. I believe.
All the prime times. Okay.
It's either all three primetime.
I thought it was
today, Monday, and then one of the other games. I think maybe on Sunday. Might be one Sunday.
Maybe. Okay. I thought it was all Sunday. Whatever game you want on Sunday. But either way.
Maybe it might be. It might be any of the Sunday games. But it's take advantage of those. Like that gives you an opportunity to get a little crazy, or take a safe bet. Put your $10. If $10 is normally outside your comfort zone, I know I sometimes do less than 10. But if you do a $10 bet, at least you get another bet to take a chance. And then you take a safe bet. Go. We've got a betting page. For those who haven't been in our Slack ever or in a while, someone figured out how to pin messages. So we are now pinning our bets in our betting page, and we'll have a betting discussion page. To talk about our strategies, and then we'll post our bets that we're actually making as well. Those have been turning out well. Who was it the other day? Johnny hit a 15 leg or something the other day, or was it Trey?
Yeah, he did. It was Johnny did.
It
was like 16 college favorites. I think he won like $90 on 10. But hey, listen, those are worth it if you can hit them.
I've tried to hit those a lot of times in my life, and it's always like Michigan or Ohio State who screw me. But
of course,
we put all those out there, and Johnny won't post the officials because he loves the long shot bets. But Johnny Long Shot will give you some big time GPPs or big time. I call them GPPs, big time parlay bets to look at that have ridiculous odds. We love to try to have fun with that. So come check us out. Check out my pinned post over on Twitter at Bankster17. $3.99 a week. It's a good deal, and we have fun. We cover all the sports. It's good stuff. Gutta, our technology worked the entire time. This is miraculous.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Since we were talking about it before we wrap up, so inactives did come out.
Oh, good.
Lance McCutcheon's inactive, as is Khalil Shakir.
God damn it! Now I have to get rid of my McCutcheon call. All right, go with freaking 2-2. Like son of a bitch,
Yeah. So
I felt so.
So if you're looking at it made sense, but I guess he's just not there yet.
Because for me, it's not about winning; it's about being right. It's not about the money. It's just about being right. It's about being smarter than everyone else in the room. Oh, who called Lance McCutcheon? Oh, I fucking did. 10% or 0.1% ownership. I might just leave him in there just to sell. Oh, look at me. No, I'll change that damn lineup. Thank you for letting me know that. That ruined my dinner, Gouda. I'll go.
Sorry.
All right, we'll do this again Sunday morning, 11:15. We'll have inactive strategies, parlays, everything. We'll have a blast on Sunday. Good. I'm so thrilled that everything worked out.
Yep.
We'll come check out Bankster DFS. We're not Bankster DFS. Come check out Fantasy Sports. Go to my Twitter at Bankster17. We got the sign up link. And if you ask me nicely, I'll let you check us out for the weekend for free at Bankster17. That's Gouda. That's at the Big Gouda. And we are Heat Map Fantasy.